Hello, good morning, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rabbi Cass. I'm a Sofer Stam in Monsey, New York. You can find me online at sofercenter.com. So I previously made a video on how to tie the Tefillin Shel, the hand knot, the Kesher, according to Minhag Ashkenaz. And like I explained in that video, it's crucial that you have a way to attach the Yud onto the Bayis when you're wrapping Minhag Ashkenaz, which is wrapping the Ritzua towards yourself, because while you do that, you actively pull the Yud away from the Bayis. So just to give you a quick demonstration on how that looks, this is a Tefillin Shel tied according to Minhag Ashkenaz. So you'll see the loop is on the inside, and I'm going to do it for a right-handed individual, just so you can see the example. And of course, on the left, the Bayis would be for the other side, and the loop would be reversed. The loop would be on here. So I'm just going to put it on. Now, this is not my minhag on how to wrap, so I'm a little clumsy with it, but I think I'll be able to do it well enough just to show you why you need to have the gid. Okay? Now, I'm not going to make any bracha because I'm not putting on for the mitzvah. I'm just putting on for demonstration to show you. Okay, so if you're wrapping Minhag Ashkenaz, this is the way you're going to go. Okay, you're going to keep wrapping in towards yourself. That's Minhag Ashkenaz. Towards. Okay? Now, if you can see here, can you see how the loop is on the inside, and as I'm pulling, the harder I pull to come around, the harder I pull the loop this way, that way, the more I force the Yud away from the Bayis. Now look right over here, you can see that the Yud is, where am I? Can I see that? You can see that the Yud is not touching the Bayis, which is important. It needs to be touching the Bayis. Okay? Now, if somebody was wearing Minhag Sfard, then I'll show you that video. I'll make a video for that, I don't know, in the coming days. The loop is actually on this side. So when you're pulling away from yourself, you're actually pulling the Yud towards the Bayis. So the only time you really need to have a gid or anything fastening the Yud to the Bayis is when you're tying, wrapping the Tefillin towards yourself, and you have the loop on the inside. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to tie on the gid. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to tie the gid onto the Tefillin in order to hold the Kesher to the Bayis. Because remember, even though right now it looks like it's in there nice and snug, what happens is as soon as you start to pull and to wrap, you will pull the Yud away from the Bayis. Okay, so I always use a gid. I know I've seen some Soferim, or I should rephrase that. I should say sometimes people come in with other materials holding the Yud onto the Bayis. It could be fishing string. I've seen rubber bands. I've seen all kinds of things. And I don't think that any of those are ma'akiv. They don't invalidate the tefillin in any way. The main point here is to have a way to fasten the Yud onto the Bayis. Now, like we know, all the components of the tefillin are supposed to be min hamuta beficha, which means materials which are allowed in the mouth, not non-kosher sources or ingredients. So ideally, if we can, it's good to use gid. Now, what is actually gid? Gid is actually sinews or ligament, which is basically, from my understanding, it's what basically connects the muscle to the bone. So these are taken actually from the hind leg of a bull. It's crushed down, it's combed, it's twined, and it's basically made into a string like this. Now, it's strong, but it's not so strong. So, like, one of the things that I do when I tie the gid on, I always like to double it up just to give it a little bit extra strength. And now I'm going to show you how to do it. So the length of the gid that you want would be about 10 inches. And if you don't have gid, then again, you could use fishing string. You could use something else strong to hold it on. And I'll show you now how I do it. So first thing you do is you pull the Yud away from the tefillin. Now here, in this tefillin, you can see there's actually a little bit of a space between the top of the Ritzua and the top over here of the Ma'avarta, but it still might be a little bit difficult to slide the gid through. So what I like to do is I like to arch the Ritzua like this, and then slide it through in such a way that the sides are arched up, which will make it a much bigger passageway in order for the gid to go through. Now, before we start working on the tefillin, we always say L'shem Kedushas Tefillin, which means for the sake of the mitzvah of the tefillin. Although in this instance, because it's not something which is in the actual making of the tefillin, it's just a mechanism and a way to hold the yud towards the bayis. It might be that if you don't say this, it would not invalidate the tefillin. But again, always better to say it. Okay, so this is how I do it. So I'm going to slide it through here, just underneath, over the ritzua, and under the ma'avarta, once, and then you'll go a second time. Now, I actually did it. Okay. So if you saw what I did, I just went through twice. Now I have both of the ends here. Okay. Take both of them together. Tie a knot. Okay, yeah, there. And then just bring it through the loop here. Just like that. Can you see that? So I'm just going through, just a regular knot. And then pull. That's it. Okay? Sometimes, like on this tefillin, I have a feeling I'm going to have a little bit extra because you can see this is cutting quite deep. Depending on how much of the ma'avarta you have will affect how much of the gid you have to cut off, and you might have to tie the knot a little bit closer to make it a little bit more snug. But let's try with what I have right now. So I always like to cut off the loose ends after the knot. Okay. Now the knot's not so pretty, so I'll move it over so the knot is inside. Okay, I'm going to turn the tefillin around just because it's easier for me to work like this. Okay, so you see that? I'm going to move it so I don't see the knot. Stay in there. Okay, now I'm going to pull the yod back. Okay, I'm going to push the ritzua back down. Now I'm going to hide the knot. Okay. I'm going to take the yod, and sometimes actually it's a little bit easier if you pull this out just a drop. And I'm going to go back through this, like this way. Once, and I'm going to try to get it a second time. Okay, and it's going to basically grab right there, so to speak, the neck of the kesher. That's where it's going to grab. And then I'm going to go like this. Now I'm going to pull here, because if I can get the knot into the slot there nice and tight and just push it down. Oh gosh, I hope you can see what's going on over here. Okay, just like that. And that's all there is to it, really. That's all there is to it. Now, if I'm going to put on the tefillin, and I'm going to pull, the yod is nicely fastened to the tefillin. Now, one thing I want to show you, you have to actually be particular. Can you see the way the gid is lying flat over there? That has to do with the way the direction which I push the yod under the gid. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to repeat that step just so you can do it right, because this is important, because when it's time to put the tefillin back in the box, I'm going to show you here. I don't want the gid on this gid to interfere with the box, this part of the box. Okay, I want it to lie flat. And I want it to be able to go in nicely. If you do it the other way around, let me show you. Okay, if you go from the back to the front, and you wrap it around, what you end up with is this exactly. And then the gid is much higher up, and then when you try to put the box on, it won't close well. It won't close well because the gid, one second, because the gid, you can see the gid is fighting the box. You see it? It's fighting the box, and it doesn't. sometimes the box won't close, or sometimes it'll put a lot of pressure on the gid, which could end up making it tear faster. Okay, so take note of that on how you wind the yud around. Whoopsies, sorry about that. How you wind the yud around the gid. You go from the front towards the back. 1, 2, and then just manipulate the knot. So that's how you tie the knot on for the Tefillin Shel according to those who wrap Minhag Ashkenaz, which will be wrapping the Tefillin towards yourself. Please consider subscribing in order to be updated and notified when more videos come out. Like the video, share the video, and of course, if you have any questions, you could email me or find me online at sofercenter.com. Take care. Till next time.